It's Friday, December 4. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. The National Water Commission, NWC, is advising that some customers will experience disruption in their water supply this weekend. The NWC says work will be done to repair a pipeline located along Spanish Town Road, St. Andrew. Areas to be affected are Corville Gardens, sections of Washington Gardens, Spanish Town Road, and all roads leading off Marcus Garvey Drive, and sections of downtown Kingston, New Haven, Riverton, Delacree Park, Tivoli, and Majestic Gardens. The application deadline for the government's Own Your Own Device initiative has been extended. The deadline was today, but Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Grace McLean, says the process has been extended for 4 weeks. Dr. McLean was at this week's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee meeting. Dr. McLean advised that so far, a little over 14,000 families have applied of the targeted 36,000 families who are not on a program of advancement through health and education path, but are in need.
As of today, we have 14,133 applications. 13,000 of these persons have met the criteria. And we have persons from all across the country and our schools who are actually applying for this voucher. We have the vendor framework actually set up for the vendors who will provide this kind of device to our students, whether it is on a credit basis or it is the single purchase.
Dr. McLean said the project experienced some challenges when it came online, but they have since been resolved.
We started a little late. We should have started on the 17th. We had some issues about 3 days. So in discussion with our minister, the decision has been taken to extend, to process those who have already met the criteria and to extend the deadline for the others up to the end of December. And we also will continue to facilitate the student registration number. So we will be sending this information out to our schools and to the general public.
Member of Parliament for Trelawney Northern, Tovia Hamilton, reported challenges faced by students who do not have student registration numbers, SRNs, which is mandatory to apply for the grant. Dr. McLean explained that a list of SRNs were issued to the schools prior to the start of the initiative.
We also provide through the 188 Educate number, where once they call, we have the database and the number is also provided. And our checks would have revealed that from the National Students Registration unit within the ministry, the team received about 21,000 phone calls. And we have provided, except for, and this was the report from yesterday, for 250 requests that were being cleared, but we have been able to provide the numbers that they have requested so that they can put their application in.
Dr. McLean also explained that an eligibility criteria has been developed for the device suppliers.
The e-learning company has met with the vendors. They are in the process of completing the application forms, and then the selection will be done in another 2 weeks or so for those vendors that will be made available. So we have been advised that within another 2 weeks, we will be able to process the number of applicants that have met the criteria, and around that time, we will also ensure that we send out the list of vendors.
Concerns were also raised about credit arrangements between vendors and parents.
Is there a case where interest will be charged?
Okay, I don't have that information, sir, because as I indicated, they are still finalizing with the vendors, but I will make a note of it so that that can be provided.
Because, Mr. Chairman, what we don't want is a situation, and we do understand the private businesses, how they treat with credit, that you may end up paying 2 times the amount of what the thing cost. And we are saying that this initiative started by the government is really something to assist and to support parents who are unable to purchase at a one-off. But for us to put them in a position, and I'm not saying that it has been done or it is the doing, I'm just asking that we look into it, that it does not become that end result wherein the tablet which is to cost $40,000 Jamaican and the credit agreement you're going to, you pay the first $20,000 and then by the time you're to finish, you end up paying $70,000. I hope that this is not going to be the case.
It was agreed that further discussions will be had once the matter of the vendor procurement process is completed. A significant number of Jamaican students have been missing classes for months. That fact was confirmed by diagnostic tests carried out by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. More from Melvin Pennant.
Acting Permanent Secretary in the Education Ministry, Dr. Grace McLean, says the diagnostic assessment was completed on the primary level. It revealed that students are significantly behind in key subjects areas after missing months of classes.
And we have seen that, yes, the learning loss has been significant. For the 4 subjects that we actually did at grade 6, mathematics, language arts, social studies, and science, we have found that there's a mean score of 23 for mathematics, 30 for language arts, 26 for social studies, and 24 for science.
Dr. McLean says the scores are a little bit better for grade 5 students.
Mathematics is at 25, language arts 33, social studies 31, and science 28. And at grade 4, mathematics is at 37, language arts at 43, and integrated studies at 25.
Dr. McLean told the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee that the Ministry of Education plans to implement an intervention program in the wake of the diagnostic test results. She added that Edufocal Limited and One-on-One Education Services Limited will be contracted to help.
They provided support earlier in the year, and currently, based on the diagnostic assessment information, we are going through the procurement for the engagement of both entities to support especially our PEP and our CSEC students.
Schools were closed back in March in a bid to limit the spread of COVID-19. Classes resumed online in October, and a short pilot project is ongoing to access how face-to-face classes can be conducted. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson is urging business owners to be security cautious when dealing with large quantities of cash during the festive season.
While we increase our anti-robbery efforts, we encourage persons who are moving large sums of cash to utilize the cash escort services offered by private security companies.
The JCF boss says his officers will continue efforts to ensure compliance of the disaster risk management measures. He's asking the public to play its part as Jamaica continues to manage the impact of COVID-19.
The requirements of quarantine as people come into the country need to be observed over the period. We will continue our efforts, and it's unfortunate we've had to take somebody who was actually in breach, who had a warrant out for them, and from the airport as they were leaving, and carry them before the courts. We don't really want to do that, and that's why it's necessary that people comply with these quarantine requirements and other DRMA requirements. Now, if you're wondering how else you can assist us or how you can assist us, you can report anything that I've been speaking about that comes to your notice to, of course, our emergency number 119, or call Crime Stop at 311 if you know anything about guns, about gangs, about criminals, or just, you want to assist us by letting us know where something is happening. You have, as I say, 119. You have Crime Stop at 311. If you're observing any public order or traffic breaches, we still have the PSTEB tip line, and that number is 876-591-5671. You can also report if you see anything that involves our own members. You can also report those on the iProbe tip line, and that is 876-838-3084. And we will put these numbers up.
Caribbean nations such as Jamaica remain vulnerable to natural disasters such as hurricanes and earthquakes. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, says it will be working with private sector interests and other key stakeholders to mitigate the risk of disasters. USAID is pushing a pilot project dubbed the Global Knowledge Initiative. In a statement, the agency posited that the initiative will be mutually beneficial and, quote, increase businesses' participation in community disaster preparedness plans and policies, help reduce social and economic impact of disasters, and support communities' efforts to recover and rebuild after disaster strikes, end quote. USAID has been in Jamaica since 1962. 5 men have been charged in connection to a major drug bust in Alligator Pond, St. Elizabeth. The men are scheduled to answer to the charges at the St. Elizabeth Parish Court today, December 4. The Constabulary Communication Network says on November 23, members of the Jamaica Defense Force Coast Guard intercepted a vessel off the coast of Alligator Pond with 5 men aboard. The vessel was searched and 3,008 pounds of contraband were seized. The drugs have been estimated a street value of $12 million. In this extended edition of the Business Report, aside from the latest market tracking, host Gabriel Thompson delves into the workings of the Students' Loan Bureau and how it has been navigating the changed landscape as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Jamaicans have been negatively impacted by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica's July 2020 Labor Force survey, the unemployment rate was 12.6%, 4.8 percentage points higher than July 2019. There was also an increase in the number of persons unemployed and persons outside the labor force. Statin reported that 57% of Jamaican households had reduced income between the onset of COVID-19 in March 2020 and September 2020. In the midst of this economic upheaval, the Students' Loan Bureau says it has seen an increase in loan applications, 13,344 compared to 12,708 for the same period in 2019, a 5% increase. The Bureau too has been impacted by COVID-19, saying drastic changes have been made in order to serve its customers.
You may recall that the external examination, Pbcj, those were deferred, and as a result, we had to align our operations with these changes. So normally our application period starts from February and ends May, occasionally extend to June. This year, June, nobody knew what was happening in our space. So we adjusted our application period to take into consideration these changes. As a matter of fact, our application period was extended to September. And even now, even though the period has closed, you can still submit applications if you're interested. So that was one change that we made, extension of the application period.
A loan deferment period was also put in place.
For the customers who are in repayment, those who have finished studying, we had a payment deferral period from April to June. And that again in response to the economic impact it's having on customers. Our payments for April, May, and June, they were all deferred, meaning you didn't have to pay a cent. In July, after the deferment period, is what your loan is going to start with in July. So you pay nothing Interest was frozen, everything frozen. Some institutions offered similar, but I can tell you they all continue to accrue interest during this deferment period. At Students' Loan Bureau, everything was frozen. So your account as at the end of March was your beginning balance as at the 1st of July.
COVID-19 has changed Jamaica's landscape. Curfews, social distancing, and persons begrudgingly wearing masks. One of the biggest changes, however, is the physical closure of schools. For over 10,000 students annually, the SLB is an option to continue or to begin. The Bureau began operation in 1970, was made a statutory body in 1971, and empowered to issue loans covering a percentage of tuition fees to Jamaican students pursuing higher education at local tertiary institutions.
We are the institution that bridges the financial as well as academic pursuits, strategies, plans of the government. So one of the 2020 vision for the government of Jamaica is investment in human capital. And as you can see from the development globally, human capital is the source for the advancement and development of any country. Even though we're even moving into a digital space, there's a human element behind every single system software. If it's even to develop, to maintain, to service.
The SLB sees itself as being different from other local financial institutions, and it is. The difference? How it grants loans.
You have your personal goals, your ambition. The Students' Loan Bureau is here to provide financing to students who are pursuing tertiary level education. The difference between us and any other financial institution in Jamaica is that we give you this loan, we grant you this loan on a moratorium basis, meaning while in school, for the period that you're in school, you do not have to consider repayment of the loan. That is supposed to be a source of relief, because when you have to think, okay, so I can afford the first semester, what am I going to do for the next semester? So when you're supposed to be concentrating on schoolwork, you're there, am I going to make it for the next semester? How can I ensure that I can continue my studies? The Students' Loan Bureau provide financing to take care, to relieve you of that stress.
In Thursday's trading session, the JSE combined index declined by 1,303 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 78 stocks, of which 31 advanced, 37 declined, and 10 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 1 point to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Barita Investments, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were 1834 Investments Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Siboney Group Limited. Mailpack Group Limited was the volume leader with 4.2 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares with 4.1 million units, and the JMMB Group Limited with 1.1 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, December 3, ended trading at $145.61. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $112.67. The pound sterling traded for $194.83, and the euro ended trading at $179.60. Oil prices jumped around 2% on Friday, heading for a fifth week of gains as major producers agreed on a compromise to continue some cuts to production to cope with coronavirus hit demand, even though these fell short of expectations. OPEC and Russia on Thursday agreed to ease deep oil output cuts from January by 500,000 barrels per day, but failed to come to a compromise on a broader policy for the rest of the year. Brent crude futures rose 93 cents to $49.64 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 76 cents to $46.40 a barrel. And that does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, a former COVID-19 patient in St. Lucia is recounting her harrowing experience from the day she received the positive test result. The well-known community pillar says the discomfort she endured during her illness pales in comparison to the treatment meted out to her by fellow St. Lucians. Now she's speaking out against the stigma and the discrimination of COVID-19 patients, urging more public awareness campaigns by local authorities.
On the week of October 12, 2020, veteran educator Fortunata Udra Chico was celebrated for her 41 years of service to the teaching profession. Chico would contract the COVID-19 virus almost 2 weeks later. It all started with a cough and a rash on the week of October 18, 2020. The Labrie resident would visit a private physician but would be stricken with a high temperature and persistent cough the following weekend. She decided to go to the St. Jude Hospital to get tested for COVID-19. Confirmation of a positive infection came on Wednesday, October 28, 2020. Word quickly spread, and she, her family, and loved ones were shunned by fellow St. Lucians. Chico shared her heartbreaking story with Dr. Merle Clark on the HealthWise program on HTS.
My daughter was in the village on Saturday, and somebody met and told her, "Zotki menen COVID vinila bowi."
Oh, wow.
So, I have not appeared in the village, but it's already happening.
I see.
And somebody passed once by home and said, "Mikai COVID la."
Massey Store's employees were recently discriminated against after COVID-19 affected the company. Chico says she will not be moved by the prejudicial comments.
I am a community person.
Right.
I was born there. I was raised there. I went to school there. I taught children there. I taught them, and that's where I live. I will not be intimidated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to walk through my community. It will be an emotional time, and sometimes there are times we have to ignore. But sometimes if it gets overboard, I do not know what will happen.
According to the health experts, persons with underlying ailments are more susceptible to more severe forms of the virus. Unfortunately, Chico fell into that category. On top of that, another member of her family would also contract the virus.
At home, there are 4 of us in the house, and 3 of us are diabetics. My mother, who is 88, and she was the one that I was most scared for. My daughter, my sister. My sister was also admitted. She spent 14 days. She came in after me. She spent 14 days. I was a bit concerned, reading up, knowing what, COVID-19 is and how it affects persons with underlying issues.
Right.
So I was a bit concerned, humanly speaking, anyone would feel like this way.
The Labrie resident says she did not see the light of day for 21 days. However, floral arrangements from loved ones helped boost her spirits, and she persevered.
One thing that brightened up my room, a friend sent me a beautiful bouquet in a red vase, lovely flowers. That is what I think kept me going.
Right.
This bouquet of flowers, it really uplifted the room, regardless of whether I had chair or table or any things like this.
The COVID-19 survivor has since called for more sensitization drives to inform persons about the virus and reduce stigma during the pandemic. She also appealed to fellow St. Lucians to support one another in the fight against the virus. Colby DeVoe, HTS News Force.
Amendment to the public procurement legislation will do more harm than good. That's the belief of a group in Trinidad and Tobago calling themselves a private sector civil society group. Government is setting up 2 procurement regimens, and with its introduction of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Amendment Bill 2020. The bill is one of 5 on the order of paper for the House of Representatives on Friday. Terrian Brown Campbell has more.
Chairman of the private sector civil society group, Winston Riley, described the planned procurement amendment bill as a travesty. as he spoke at a media conference at the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce on Thursday.
Sets up two procurement regimes. One under the procurement regulator, other one under the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Riley, speaking on behalf of a host of civil society organizations, said the Public Procurement Act of 2015 was intended to remove loopholes, limitations, and weaknesses in the procurement system. But the new bill will compromise what the Act sought to accomplish.
By setting up two procurement processes, is that with both processes operating in tandem, one under the Office of the Procurement Regulations and another under the Minister of Finance, removes equality of treatment with respect to transparency, accountability, and value for money.
Mr. Riley insisted that passage of the Property Amendment Bill will destroy the efficacy of the Procurement Act. As indicated in the Act, its purpose is to reform the procurement laws in keeping with principles of good governance, such as accountability, integrity, transparency, and value for money. It establishes the Office of Procurement Regulation and the repeal of the Central Tenders Board. Terry Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
We go to sports. In cricket, we catch up with the first test match between the touring West Indians and host New Zealand. The Black Caps are sitting comfortable, having declared their first innings at 519 for 7. Kane Williamson posted 251, his highest test score, leaving the West Indies to face up to 26 overs before stumps on day 2 of the first test in Hamilton on Friday. With figures of 3 for 89 and 3 for 114, Shannon Gabriel and Kemar Roach were the leading wicket takers for the Windies. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has drastically reshaped the 2020 sporting calendar, with major events like the Tokyo Olympics being postponed. Locally, events like Boys and Girls Championships suffered the same fate. Other sports, such as golf, have carried on, but with changes. One example is the recent Alliance Buccaneer Memorial Tournament, held at the Caymanas Golf Club in St. Catherine. Jamaica Golf Association President Peter Chin spoke of how the pandemic has changed that competition's format.
COVID is a challenge. We had to change the format of the event this year just to abide by the government's COVID protocols. And because usually on the second day we would have a shotgun start where all the players start at once. But this year, because of the social distancing and the number of people in any one place, we had to go by tee times. So what happened is that instead of everybody teeing off at say 9 o'clock, we started at 7 a.m. and the last group went off at 12:30. So we're able to maintain the protocols and we're happy for that.
Despite the challenges, Mr. Chin says the tournament's staging was a success.
We're very thankful that we had 100 golfers coming out this weekend to support the Alliance Buccaneer Memorial Tournament. And it's the premier event, amateur event outside of the Jamaica Open. And we're very happy about the turnout and the support that we have had from the golfing fraternity.
Justin Burrows would go on to win the contest. And that's our package. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.